Join Dessie Brown as he gives you inside access to industry leaders who are making it happen in entertainment, film, music, sports, and politics. It's the YouKnowDessie Show.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I apologize if you hear sound. They've been repairing my roof, which I thought they'd be done today.
Yeah.
You may hear like some crazy roof noise, so I apologize about that.
It is all good. You know what I'm saying? Look, this is the new normal. We know there are a lot of things going on. You know, people have kids and...
Yes. I don't have those, but I got roof problems.
Okay, roof. Okay, cool. What up, Mika?
Hey, Meek.
So, welcome to the YouKnowDessie Show.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you for taking the time to join the show. And I've admired you and your work for some time. And so definitely been hearing about you on the scene. And I know you used to act as well, still act a little bit.
Yes.
And I've also checked out your live. So, you know.
You've seen the gamut then.
Yeah. So.
Yes. Maura, personally, publicly, professionally.
Yeah, and I don't know which part you want to talk about. Hopefully you want to talk about a little bit of it all.
I'm down to talk about everything.
Perfect. Okay.
I'm open.
So we're going to talk about the first part, which is the professional part, and then I'm going to go to into your live that I saw the other day because you was on one, lit.
I don't even know what to see. It's funny. I usually do lives when I should be asleep. And so I like look back and I'm like, girl, what was you talking about? Because I usually am like ranting.
Yes, and definitely ranting the other night. So we're gonna talk about that just because I want to get your perspective on some different things.
Yes, I'm down. I talk about it. I'm open for any conversation.
Okay, well, cool then. Well, please tell the viewing audience who may not know who you are, and what it is that you currently do.
Yes, my name is Maura Chanz. I am currently the director of creative media at Seven Sun Productions, which is owned by Yara and Keri Shahidi. We sit under the ABC Studios umbrella. And I'm also still a commercial actress and a freelance creative consultant.
Well, dope. So let's talk about you getting your start in the business, because I know you started as a child actress and you know, but you made it through. So I think that's really dope because a lot of child actors and actresses don't always end up in a great place. So please talk about like.
Yeah. I've known I wanted to be in the business probably since I was 5. What's up, Ben? I've known I probably wanted to be in the business since I was 5. Around age 9, I met Kiki Palmer, who is still a friend today. We've known each other 15 years, but we met through a mentor, Asha Kamali. And I think Kiki was like the first realization like that this is a career that I can actually pursue. And so I was still in Chicago at the time, and my parents got me, started training, and I got an agent out there. And then at 12 and 13, I attended summer camps here in LA. At 13, I attended one called YPS, ran by a manager named Donna Jean. At the time, she was managing a lot of Disney and Nick stars, Ali and AJ Mashaka, the iCarly cast, etc. And after the camp, they do a showcase, really just to give you an idea of the industry. Just to give you an idea of the industry. And I actually got offered to sign with Diverse Talent, which at the time was really kind of running things in the kids space. So my parents allowed me to move out here, and I actually moved in with Donna Jean, who was the lady running the camp. So she was my manager. She also somewhat was my guardian. They're gonna get real loud now. And so I literally stayed out here and I worked till college. And my parents and I had a deal that if I was not reoccurring on a show, I could book, you can book guest appearances and all this stuff, but if I was not reoccurring, I had to go to college. And so I was really in the commercial space. So some people were like, oh, I've seen in these commercials, but I really didn't do a lot of TV and film. I've done some shorts. I did a pilot for HBO. And if anyone knows anything about this industry, pilots come and go. You can book a ton, think your life is about to change, which I thought many times with Disney as well. And so I ended up going to school.
Yeah.
But prior to that, I'll put a pin in school really quickly. But before I went, because I was homeschooled at the time and pursuing this industry, I actually started a lifestyle site back in 2009 called Lips Unsealed. And I was really doing interviews with friends. A lot of my friends are kind of coming up in music, whether it be Chance the Rapper, Sky Townsend was just kind of starting her YouTube journey and all this stuff. And that actually kind of parlayed into collaborating with a friend of mine, Kofi Cerebo, on a YouTube channel called The Black Sheep TV. And The Black Sheep unknowingly was my first introduction to production. I was a co-EP with him and the creative director, and we literally, I look back and we were like 15 and 16 and we've done like 8 million views. You know, it's crazy the work we were doing at that age. And so that I didn't know I was producing at the time. And, you know, I was working on call sheets and I was the wardrobe. We were doing everything. It was just Kofi and I. And so fast forward, I'm at college and I get an opportunity. I was interning kind of all over in entertainment, just wanting to stay within this space. It's the only space I could ever think about. But I ended up working at the Bronze Lens Film Festival. I worked for an advertising agency. I worked for Con Live, Akon's label. Then I got an opportunity to come. BET was doing a digital series called What's at Stake. And it was a socially driven show just talking about issues that were at stake in the community. And I participated in one as on-camera talent. And after that, they had another one, actually, I believe, right when there was no indictment for the Mike Brown case, and they needed someone to produce this content on campus. I want to say this is 2014 or so. And they asked me to do it. So that was like my first time producing, like knowing that I was producing and making sure I was securing the talent and working with their DP. And so that was kind of my introduction there. And that just kind of continued.
And you went to Spelman, correct?
I did. I attended Spelman, yes. And so that kind of just continued. I was doing little one-off jobs. And when I finished school, I decided that I wasn't going to get a job and I wasn't going to get work for somebody, and I was not going to go to grad school. So I started my own creative agency. At that time, I had already ran a site. So I was familiar with writing. Because I was running a site, I was doing graphics for that. I was producing. I had production credits. And so I kind of offered a full-service creative agency specializing and focusing on women of color entrepreneurs called Glitter and Hustle. So I ran Glitter and Hustle for a while, and then an opportunity came about for me to do Boss Up on WeTV. And I became a celebrity news correspondent on there. Still kind of doing Glitter and Hustle in the background. Like I'm always, people are like, "Are you Jamaican?" Like I'm always in 100 things.
Just a hard worker. And
that's just, I mean, and I'm always trying to bring the money in. So that was an amazing period, and that actually led me, it in a weird way, to coming back to LA. So while I was doing Boss, we were filming, I was given the opportunity to go to Essence Fest that year to cover for AT&T. I was kind of like an influencer for them. They knew the show was coming out, so I went, and it was there that I actually reconnected with Maura Chanz, who had spoken at Spelman a couple years prior, and it was also where I met Yara and Keri Shahidi. And so Maura at the time, there's a lot of Maura, Yara's, Maura's. Maura Chanz at the time was looking for an apprentice. She wanted to really foster and raise the next Maura Chanz, and she presented the opportunity to me, and I was actually under contract with Boss Up, so I was like, I can't really do it, but it sounds amazing. And I kind of just planted seeds with the Shahidis. It wasn't anything other than like, wow, I'm watching everything that you guys are doing, and I was really captivated with Keri Shahidi. I was like, Yara is just, everyone knows how brilliant she is, but you don't make that in a vacuum, and so that has a lot to do with how you're groomed and cultivated at home. And so I was very, very, I was just like curious about Keri, and so we kind of connected that way. So fast forward, I ended up actually applying to the apprenticeship with Maura. Actually, just one of my older professors were like, I know you're under contract, but just apply. And it just so happened that by the time I got the job, my deal with Boss Up had just ended like a couple days prior. And I packed up, I moved, and started working with Maura right when she was getting Biz off the ground. She had sold it to Network, but we were just at the place of starting to staff and really get everything ready for pre-pro. So I was with Maura for close to a year, and then it was kind of back to the freelance life, figuring out what I wanted to do, what was next, and I started developing a series. I ended up, because I didn't really have anything to do, I was at a concert seeing Black, or Six Slack as people like to call them, and I ran into the Shahidi, and they asked me what I was up to. I was like, nothing really. I'm writing and just kind of chilling. And I just kind of started actually consulting them creatively. They would hit me up and say, hey, we have this social post. Do you have an idea for this? We have this. Do you have an idea for this? And that continued until that was about 2 years, in early 2018. And then I guess 1 year, about last year, they hit me and was like, hey, we have an Instagram deal and we are looking for a concept. And I developed Unguided, which we knew we wanted it to be in the short form content space, but I wanted something that was different, that hadn't been seen. So I took the kind of the idea of a vlog, but really figured out a way to elevate that and kind of combine art house components with video, and try to create somewhat of like an art montage. And literally within like the first 30 seconds that your Instagram had seen the first episode, they were like, we want a ton more. So that kind of shifted. That was like the shift in our relationship. And then earlier this year, they were like, you know, you've been with us in a freelance capacity for a couple of years. Do you want to come on full time? And, you know, we're growing our production company. And it was literally, I was like, an executive. I don't know. I never have done this. I was barely an assistant for a quick second with Maura, and I wasn't the best assistant. I'm a great creative, but I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, you already do that. You already, you know, you keep your finger, you keep your ear to the ground with everything going on. You know who's writing, you know who's creating. And a big thing for the Shahidis is lifting and elevating new voices. And it's something that's really important and a passion of mine. So that was an easy place there. And as director of creative media, people are like, well, what is that? What do you do? I ensure that Yara's imprint is through everything that she does. People come to them with opportunities all the time. And it's like, does this make sense for our brand?
They may not always.
Is this project aligned with what we're doing? And if there are opportunities, I'm like, how can we weave more of Yara through this? For example, our first Unguided episode, we were in Paris, and if anyone knows, Yara's a really big fan of James Baldwin. So the idea for that episode was to retrace James Baldwin's steps through Paris. So it's ensuring that everything is uniquely and honestly Yara, whether we are in the TV space, whether it's the brand deals and endorsements, whether it is television, animation, film, that is like, why do we put her in this? Why are we attached to this? And so I kind of oversee ensuring that through line is through everything that we do. And then also ensuring that I'm keeping up with all the new voices in the industry and ensuring that I'm bringing talent that aligns with the work that we're trying to do into our fold. So that's, I guess, a long way about how I ended up where I am. But really, more than anything, it was that I've never seen myself in any other industry. So ultimately, I just had to make this work in some capacity. So
it's like it's not a you know, you're one of those people. It's like it's not another industry. It's not a plan B. It's like,
no, the plan B is to make plan A work, and plan A was just always. I think, you know, entertainment is such a powerful medium. I actually would argue it's the most powerful medium in the world. And in a evil mastermind way, I love power, but not in a malicious sense. But you know, it's so many people who puppeteer things behind you, and a lot of it is not betterment. I genuinely want to, you know, inspire people with the content that I'm a part of. I want to make people believe that they are able to achieve and do anything. And so I think there needs to be some good power. And that's why I've always wanted to be in this industry.
Yeah, and it's always great to me when I'm able to have discussions with creators that are behind the scenes, because, you know, everybody is used to seeing Yara out in front, but it's so many people behind that actually make things work. And you mentioned earlier when a project, when you're working on a project or someone presents something, you make sure that it actually has her voice. And I kind of did the same thing with Martellus Bennett. I do a lot of work with him, and it's like, okay, he may have an initial meeting with somebody, or we may have an initial meeting, and then he's off to do what he does. And so I'm kind of like constantly.
Yeah, you have to keep the pieces lifted. And,
yes.
No, absolutely. That's really what we do. And bring her in when we can and make sure, like, do you like this? Do this? You know, she's very active in everything she does, but because she is front facing, she does not have the time to handle all of the small minutiae and the nuance.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. And when you have that connection, you know the voice that it's supposed to be in, and you know right away if something doesn't match up, and you can kill it. You know what I'm saying? Nip it in the bud right away, as opposed to they even presenting it like, no,
Yes.
they wouldn't say that. Nope, they wouldn't be a part of that. There's no sense in even going
Yep.
any to stop it
It,
right.
it, it allows them to manage their time better. It,
Yeah,
it, it, it helps with that. That's what a large part of it is. Yeah, there's a lot of things that like I'll read and I'm like, yeah, nah, she ain't gonna do that. But
yeah,
it's no point in even mentioning it to her. I'm happy it did. I'm happy she didn't take the time to read it.
exactly. Yeah, and so, and I know you mentioned pulling those strings in a good sense,
Absolutely.
and so how do you feel in this role behind the scenes as opposed to when you were a child actress?
Yeah, it's very different. You know, because I grew up in this industry, I would say most of my, I mean, I would say most because I did go to school and I have other parts of my life, but I grew up with a lot of child actors and most of them are still acting today, and a
Yeah,
lot of them are big celebrities and things like that. And so I I won. There are obviously some frills to being in front of the camera that are missed. Like, I mean, of course, everyone loves being pampered and, you know, the free things and all that kind of stuff. But I really, really love and kind of have gotten really comfortable behind the scenes because it genuinely, again, goes back to that place of power. When you are in front of the camera, you're bringing someone else's story to life.
yeah,
You rarely do contribute to what that creative is like. And at the core of me, although I do love performing and I love, you know, entertaining people, I genuinely love to create, and I'm always ideating and things like that. And so I really, really love producing, whether I'm coming on as a non-writing producer or I'm co-creating concepts. I love being behind the scenes because it really allows me to flex my creative muscles a little bit more.
yeah,
In a different way, in a more active way.
yeah,
It allows me, you know, I say it, not only do I produce, I do write, I do direct, I have a degree in writing as well. And I think, you know, the pen is kind of that's the catalyst for everything. Like the written word, there is no person to be in front of the camera or any of that. So for me, yeah, I think being behind the scenes allows me to really be creative in a very unique way that I didn't get the opportunity to when I was in front of the camera as a child. And I still, you know, it's very fun because I am one of probably a few people who live behind the scenes who also still does work in front of the camera. So I
yeah,
still do, you know, I just did a brand partnership with Levi's earlier this year, and we did a 4 video series. I did some work with Queen and Slim in their marketing rollout. I did a Toyota commercial last year. So I still get the opportunity to like go and be that in front of the camera, and then I
yeah.
go and be who I really am and throw on my glasses and like get behind the computer and research and create. And that's really where I thrive.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, and it's cool the position that you're in because you still get to flex that, okay, I'm gonna go be in this commercial now. So it's almost like a best of both worlds.
It absolutely is. I mean, and I will say a lot of that is because of Yara and Keri and just the team that I work with. I don't think that everyone does have that kind of freedom and opportunity. One
Yeah.
thing that when they brought me on, they've known me for years, and so she was like, even down to like office. They know like I've worked for myself for so long. Like I'm not an office person, so they literally were like, we get it. You come in when you feel like it. Like they've allowed me to be me as long as my job gets done and the work gets done. Like, okay, you need to take today off because you're shooting a commercial. Now I probably wouldn't be like, I'm doing a TV show, because I don't have that kind of flexibility and opportunity. Like that's just a different kind of commitment. But I get to do one-offs and I get to feel that part of myself. And
Yeah.
it's because they ultimately want the best for me and they want me to be happy as well. So I really am in a really beautiful kind of marriage.
Yeah, and I love them. I've worked on projects. I did a project for AT&T called 28 Days
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple of years ago. And so, Yar was one of our hosts, as well as I'm friends with Anthony Anderson and really good friends with Dion Cole and
Oh, so you know the whole Ish family.
yeah, Josh Martin, Marseille's dad.
Mhm.
I've been in spaces around them, and I just love their relationship and how they work. And another thing that I wanted to touch on with that is like the black girl magic between like her with Yara and Marseille. It's like it's just amazing how they're pushing the culture forward. For
Absolutely. I feel like we're in good hands. I mean, it's so great for me. Most people, I work for an irreverent 20-year-old. Like my boss is 20, and she doesn't, and although she knows the truth of the world, she hasn't been jaded. Like she's so open, and they both are just so open and so willing to, provide platforms and tell new stories and not play. They're like, literally, let's throw the rule book out. We're doing this our way. And so to be under, I can't speak for Marseille, I do know her well as well, but to sit under the tutelage of a young, irreverent leader like that is, it's been an amazing experience. And, I always say I have a younger sister who is exactly Yara's age. She's 20 as well. And I learned so much from them. I learned so much. And I'm not even that far apart in generations, but it's really great to sit and listen and learn, whether it be new dances they're teaching me or new readings, just everything. I look towards them to learn, to grow. And so I wish and pray and hope that more people will listen to these young creatives and these young leaders because they have something to say.
Yeah, and a funny story from Essence Festival last year. So they were doing I guess, a live reading of Grownish at Essence Festival last year, and so everyone was in like this in this one ballroom or like a meeting room, and then go through the crowd to where they were going to do this live reading. And so, but they didn't have enough security because, last year at Essence, Michelle Obama was there as well. Everybody was stretched thin. So literally it was like Marseille, Yara, Chloe and Holly, like it was like literally every like little kid star. And so I had to walk like I was security for Yara and Marseille. And this is like nuts. Like me and Dion Cole are like walking through like
I've been fake security at Essence. Essence is nothing to play with. I'm like, oh, the fans come out. I've been like that. I was with Kofi once, and we literally was like right when Queen Sugar came out, and we were just chilling, and then out of nowhere we just had to start running. And I was like, oh shit, I was not prepared for this.
Yeah, and all these little kids were going crazy because it's one thing to have like one of them with you, but literally we had all of them with us at the same time. So it was like, okay, let me like buff up a little bit. Like I gotta really like keep these kids off of them.
I love that. I love stories like that.
Yeah. So also talk about the importance of, like I saw on your bio, you had remade I guess it could have been an old picture, but you had remade.
Oh, Rosie the Riveter.
Yes. Yes. So about the importance of that with you as well.
Well, so some people know, some people don't know. So I did attend Spelman. What's up? I can't read too well, so I see my name and shout out to whoever who said that, but I can't read too well. I have my contacts on, but I also just don't have good vision. I actually have a degree in gender studies and a degree in gender studies from a, women's HBCU, the number one HBCU, but a women's college in the country. And so women leadership is very important to me. It's something I've studied for a long time. It's something I'm passionate about. And so I think, that picture, specifically Rosie the Riveter, is like a reimagining. I think a lot of times, so Black women are erased from so many things, whether it be the suffrage movement, which that photo came out during, that, with even in the civil rights movement. And so it was the reimagining of Black women, not even reimagining, the retelling, because Black women were active in these spaces. They just weren't always visible. So now bringing in imagery to show the visibility that really did exist, but has not been shown through history. So that was really why that picture. But that's that kind of thing is something that's very passionate. Whether it's me in front of the camera or anybody, I'm ensuring that Black women are not erased from narratives. So.
Well, yeah, and I could really tell that through some of the different projects you worked on, and everything like that, and even going to something as crazy as your live. Like your live was lit, and like you were
I
yo.
don't even know what live this is because my lives get crazy and they are open candor. Like I'm a mess.
Okay, so the one I hopped in on was you were talking about your reputation
Oh,
as
college. I was talking probably about, yes, sexual liberation probably. If we're gonna get real or particular,
yeah.
sexual liberation, which I talk about a lot actually in school. I started an organization called Coquette, and Coquette is French for a woman of loose morals. And people were like, well, why would you want to be associated with that? And for me, I think I look back now, I've been seeing all the controversy surrounding like WAP.
And that's what I want to bring up.
Look, we're in alignment. And, so for me I grew up in a space, I tell people, although my dad is not, but I was genuinely raised by pimps, by hustlers, by streeters, by everything. And I've been very fortunate to kind of come from a very liberal upbringing and a space and a home in which not only obviously I was, my parents' child, but I've always been my own woman first. So if there were things that I questioned, I remember just being a young girl, like, I don't want to wear tights under this. Like, why we gotta wear tights? Why we gotta, like, I don't really cross my legs. Like, I've just never been that type of person. And so when it came, even going to college and even, moving and growing and learning about my own sexuality, I was very open. I've always been open and transparent about that. And so those conversations, that's continuous for me, but I always really do hope and want to inspire women to also feel that kind of empowerment. I think specifically when we talk about sex in regards to, with just sex in general, it is usually positioned as something for women to receive and not to be active participants in, not to enjoy. You're not even taught to, you grow up, men are masturbating from a young age, but it's like frowned upon for women to. And even in my mid 20s, I have friends who are closer to 30 who are like, they don't masturbate. I'm like, that's wild. And so like even thinking back to college when I was making Coquette, when I said a woman of loose morals, it wasn't that she doesn't have any, but it's that they're flexible, they're fluid. And as you learn new things or you enjoy things, you're like, oh wait, like I'm gonna change that. Wait, I want to be, I want to be more of an active participant here and stuff. So you probably caught a pretty controversial live because it's not something people, openly get on the internet and talk about. But the same way I can talk about black lives, I can easily talk about sex and the entertainment business because those are all, I'm a multifaceted being, and those are all, parts of my life.
Yeah, and I feel like we all are, and that's why I did want to bring up the WAP topic because and I feel like you have amazing intelligence, and you can speak on it in a way that like right now everybody's bringing up the lyrics, but then we're also hearing about more of the old lyrics from like men rappers as well. So I saw something posted the other day. It was like a lot of Nas lyrics, next to the Cardi and Meg lyrics, and then they put some Biggie lyrics on there, and then some Tupac lyrics, and it's like, and then I used to listen to Too Short growing up when I was way too young to be listening to Too Short, and it kind of is what it is, but but people always frown whenever they hear women speaking the same way.
That's because they don't have control over women's bodies. I think a lot of times, like what we don't realize and we don't speak about all the time is that the systems that have been put in place to control women. And that stretches back long in history for women not being able to be in the workplace to, women even down to, the black man was able to vote well before. I mean, black women didn't get to vote until the early 1900s. Actually, black women much, much later. The women's suffrage movement didn't even really service the black woman. And so there's always been control over women, the woman's body. And when you have women like a Cardi, like a Megan, like a Trina, I mean, there's always been the women who I even would say the coquettes, the women of loose morals, or who are gonna go out and you know, as Maya Angelou says, like, grab the world by its lapels. Like, Maya Angelou, who's one of my favorite authors, was a sex worker. And people don't like to talk about that, but they like to erase that part of her. Women cannot be sexual beings. Women cannot be their own beings. And so, you know, I kind of have been dismissing a lot of the conversation. It's really funny for me, but I always know that a lot of it's just about conditioning and socialization and how we have been taught to see women like we are in the weird way. Although we're not taught to see them as sexual women, as sexual beings, we are taught to see them as sexual beings in relationship to a man. Of like, you know, you can't go out and fuck the world because you can only fuck me. Like, that's it. That's your role. Yeah. And so, you know, getting to see women who are like bucking that system, who can openly talk about pleasure, who can openly talk about, you know, I'm flipping these isms on their head. Yeah. I'm proud to see. And the funny thing is, it's been happening through history. In the 20s, when women started wearing flapper dresses, that was frowned upon. It's always been some women who just been about that shit. And I mean, and they've always been frowned upon, and they're going to continue to be, because we were built on a world that did not empower women to be their own. Yeah, and my perspective in it is, I have a 4-year-old daughter, and so I look at, you know, obviously you don't see as much balance in TV, or you do have to search it out. So, you know, like, and that's what so many men are worried about, especially men that have daughters. Well, like, I think that's like I said, through history. I remember I grew up, and, you know, men are worried about it, but men are worried about it because it goes back to ownership. Y'all worried about it because you don't want to think about your daughters having sex. Like, you're worried about it, but it's really nothing to worry about. What is, like, her being able to have autonomy over her body, or to be able to say, and I'm big on this. I don't believe, I know a lot of women may fake orgasms and things like that. I don't believe in really not being honest and truthful. If I'm not liking something, I'm done with it. And it's also because my parents gave me a lot of autonomy. And so a lot of men are worried. I grew up singing Look Back at It. I remember literally, I was probably like 1, maybe I was 2. I remember this so vividly. My mom rings it all the time. I was back in the car like, baby, I got your money, don't you worry. I said, hey, and that's, you know, and I look at my life, and my dad, both my parents are like, we are so proud of the woman that you are in all aspects of my life. I don't take shit from people. If I'm not enjoying something, I will let everyone know. If I don't want to be in a situation, I'm verbal about it. And, you know, so in many ways of men, that's more about ownership and not wanting your daughters to be sexual beings, which they're going to grow up and become anyway. And if anything, I think the best way to go about that is ensuring that there's safety. Yeah. Ensuring that there's honesty and trust of, you know, okay, if this is what you're doing, or even encouraging. There's a really amazing article I read years ago that's called Don't Masturbate at the Kitchen Table. And it's about a young girl who's like just touchy, like a baby. She was just like an infant that was touchy. Yeah. And eventually in all of that touch, you'll find pleasure and things like that, which are, I mean, parts of life, you know, and trying to hide those things is just so asinine to me anyway. But to say, okay, sweetheart, you can't masturbate at the kitchen table, but if you want to touch yourself like that, you do that in the privacy of your room. And, oh, you know these parts of your body, you know what brings you pleasure, understanding how, you know, relationships can impact that. I think it just opens up and, you know, leaves room for open conversation. Again, I mentioned just that I grew up around pimps. And, you know, I grew up with people, like, I don't think sex was never like a taboo thing in our home. Yeah. Never, you know, my parents and my dad has 3 daughters, and I'm sure at some point he knew we would all be fucking. Like, I think it's some, like, it's like, you know how you know how we all got here. You know, he was clearly sleeping with my mom. Like, somebody's going to be doing this, but, you know, and to not make us have any shame about that. Yeah. And so, you know, I think a lot of it, utilizing the Cardis and the Megans, that's an amazing way of, like, honestly, my dad calls those women, like, those are some boss ass bitches in my home. And that's the kind of leadership I want. I want my daughter to have that kind of autonomy and that kind of ownership over herself and over her body. And so I really hope people just start seeing the perspective around that being entirely different. You thinking of it as something she should be ashamed of, when I don't think anything is shameful about having sex.
Yeah, and I have a perspective where I want to, be open and learn and things like that, because not only do I have a daughter, but she was born on 4/20. So I'm like, 9 times out of 10, I already know she probably gonna smoke weed, because somebody at some point somebody gonna tell her, hey, your birthday is the weed day. Like, it is what it is. So it's just about being safe. It's about being open, honest, and things like that. And so, I love the Black Girl Magic. I love the girl bosses. And so I pay attention, like I've always paid attention to that, but I pay attention to it even more now. Seeing the way that business and different industries have been, ran by Black women. And then now even having a vice president candidate that's a Black woman.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm just, so happy for that.
Absolutely. No, I mean, I think it's amazing to see. I always say bridging the gap between potential and opportunity. I love watching women have the opportunity to do anything, whether that be, leadership in a company, and, or be just the opportunity to be vocal and be honest about her sex life or whatever, all of that. Like, I think opening those doors wide open for somebody to just be all that they can be and all that they want to be.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yeah. So, man, thank you so much. I don't want to take up all of your day. Really appreciate the open and the real conversation.
Always. That's the only kind of conversation I have. I don't really know how to fake the funk in any part of my life. So if you are in conversation with me, you're always going to get the honest, the truth, sometimes hurtful because it is honest. But I really appreciate, you finding me as somebody that was worthy enough to be on your platform and how you're utilizing this platform. I think communication and just, bridging that gap. I hope that, some things that you may have shared with me and like, okay, I look at that differently. Or I hope that even my own perspective of WAP may have you or other men who may be watching be like, oh, shit, like I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. And what other things are you like working on specifically that you can,
I mean, nothing like coming out like tomorrow. We do have some more episodes of Unguided with Yara that are coming. The company does have some amazing projects that are coming. I am finishing a feature that I wrote right now, and I'm very excited about that. So I hope to be, selling that soon. Yeah. And I'm also developing a series. So, it's a lot of things in the industry are slow progress. So I just tell people just keep your ears posted because there are things always happening and moving. So
for sure.
Just stay posted. You'll see.
Yeah, for sure. And I would love to stay in contact with you. I have a few projects that I'm working on as well. One is a kid and play biopic that we're trying to put together, and another one is a documentary on Antoine Walker, the basketball player.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I'm here and we are connected. You have access to me, and I'm here to support in any way I can. I'm always, that's all I'm about is tribal community, making sure that we all are in community with one another and knowing that we all have something to contribute. We all have something to learn and to teach one another and to be open to that. So thank you. And I'm here. I'm excited to see what else you're going to be doing. And I'm very excited about this show. I've seen so many people that I know I think my, who is Tamara? Goodness, my Spelman sister, but I'm blanking.
Or Barmeo.
Sarita.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, I think Sarita, I saw names that I'm very familiar with, so I'm hoping to catch some of those episodes and catch some gems over there as well.
And Janae is my girl, too. We've been trying to schedule.
Janae. Which Janae? Oh, Janae Bolden. Janae Bolden is why I started at Gossip. Janae has been instrumental in my life as well. So it's so many people have, I stand on the backs of so many, and just even those two that you named. So I know that you have, for anyone who is tuned in, I know Dessie has just a lineup of just such incredible people. So I hope that you guys stay tuned to this daily talk show.
Thank you so much, and I'll hit you offline and send you my info. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You guys have a good one. Bye.
Okay.